something strange happens every time you look at the world. You feel like your eyes are directly seeing reality. Trees, buildings, people, colors, motion. It all feels immediate and real, as if the world is simply appearing in front of you exactly as it is. But that is not actually what is happening. Right now, everything you believe you are seeing is being constructed inside your brain. Light from the outside world travels in waves and enters your eyes. These waves hit the retina, a thin layer of cells at the back of the eye. Instead of forming a perfect picture, the retina simply converts light into tiny electrical signals. These signals travel through the optic nerve toward the visual cortex at the back of the brain. At this point, there is still no image. There are only electrical impulses. Inside the visual cortex, millions of neurons begin decoding these signals. Some neurons specialize in detecting edges. Others respond to motion. Some identify contrast, while others detect color. Each group processes only a tiny piece of information. Then the brain performs something remarkable. It combines all those fragments into a single continuous scene. But it does something even more surprising. It fills in information that was never there. Your eyes actually have a permanent blind spot where the optic nerve leaves the retina. This area cannot detect light at all. There is literally a hole in your visual field, yet you never notice it. Your brain automatically fills the missing information using surrounding patterns, textures, and expectations. It quietly invents the missing part of the image so the world appears complete. In other words, part of what you see is created by your brain. And this filling-in process happens constantly. The brain also predicts what it expects to see before the information even arrives. Scientists call this predictive perception. Instead of waiting for every signal, the brain builds a model of the world based on past experiences. When new sensory data arrives, the brain compares it with its prediction. If the prediction matches the incoming data, the brain accepts the model and perception feels smooth and stable. If the prediction is wrong, the brain quickly updates its interpretation. This is why optical illusions exist. In an illusion, the brain applies its normal prediction rules to a situation where those rules lead to the wrong answer. Lines may appear different lengths even though they are identical. Colors may appear to change depending on surrounding shades. The brain is trying to interpret the world efficiently, but sometimes its shortcuts misfire. Your perception of time works in a similar way. The brain does not process events instantly. There is a small delay between receiving sensory information and forming conscious awareness. During that delay, the brain collects signals from different senses and merges them into a single moment. By the time you experience something consciously, your brain has already processed and slightly edited the information. You are always experiencing a carefully constructed version of reality that is a fraction of a second behind the physical world. Sound works the same way. Your ears capture vibrations in the air and convert them into electrical signals. But the meaning of those vibrations depends on interpretation by the brain. When someone speaks your language, your brain instantly recognizes patterns and converts them into words and meaning. But when someone speaks a language you do not understand, those same sound waves become meaningless noise. The difference is not the sound itself. The difference is the brain's internal model. Even touch is interpreted this way. When you hold an object, receptors in your skin detect pressure and temperature. But the feeling of texture, weight, and shape is constructed by comparing those signals with memories stored in your brain. Everything you experience is filtered through prediction and interpretation. This means that what you perceive is not raw reality. It is the brain's best guess. Your mind is constantly asking one silent question. Given these signals, what is the most likely explanation of what is happening out there? The answer becomes your experience of the world. Two people can watch the same event and remember it differently because their brains highlighted different details and interpreted them through different expectations and emotions. Their brains constructed slightly different versions of reality. This does not mean the world outside is fake. The world exists independently of your mind. But the version you experience is always shaped by the structure of your brain, your memories, and your expectations. Light exists outside you, but color exists only in your brain. Sound waves exist outside you, but music exists only in your brain. Pressure exists outside you, but the feeling of touch exists only in your brain. Everything you experience is the brain translating physical signals into a story about the world. And the story feels so real that you rarely question it. But the next time you look around, remember something unusual. You are not directly seeing reality. You are experiencing the version of reality that your brain has constructed for you. And the version your brain has constructed for you is not neutral. It is not objective. It is not a clean window onto the world. It is a deeply personal document, written in the language of your history, your wounds, your conditioning, your losses, and your longings. Every perception you have ever had has passed through that document before reaching you. Every face you have ever read, every room you have ever entered, every opportunity you have ever evaluated, all of it filtered, all of it shaped, all of it arriving already interpreted before you had the chance to see it clearly. This should be humbling, not in a way that paralyzes you, but in a way that loosens your grip on certainty. Because certainty is the enemy of accurate perception. The moment you are certain about what you are seeing, you stop looking. The brain locks the model in place and begins defending it rather than updating it. Ambiguous signals get forced into familiar categories. Contradicting evidence gets minimized. The world shrinks to fit the story rather than the story expanding to fit the world. And most people live their entire lives inside that shrinking. They are not unintelligent. They are not malicious. They are simply running a brain that was optimized for survival, not for truth. A brain that prioritizes speed over accuracy. A brain that would rather be confidently wrong than uncertainly open, because confidence feels safe and openness feels like exposure. But here is what that safety costs you. Every person you dismissed too quickly because your threat model fired before you gave them a real chance. Every opportunity you talked yourself out of because your prediction system calculated failure before you had gathered enough data. Every version of yourself you never became because the brain's model of who you are was built in a season of limitation and never fully updated when your circumstances changed. The constructed nature of perception is not just a philosophical curiosity. It has a daily cost. It shapes who you speak to and who you avoid. It shapes what you attempt and what you abandon. It shapes the ceiling you place above your own potential without realizing the ceiling was never real, it was rendered. So what do you do with this? You cannot step outside your brain. You cannot access raw reality directly. No human can. The construction is the only reality available to you, but you can become a more active and honest participant in the construction process. You can slow down long enough to ask whether what you are perceiving is signal or assumption. You can deliberately expose yourself to people, places, and experiences that your current model has no category for. You can sit with ambiguity instead of immediately resolving it into something familiar. You can notice when your certainty arrived too quickly and treat that speed as a warning rather than a confirmation. You can practice what might be called perceptual humility, not the paralysis of never trusting your senses, but the discipline of holding your interpretations loosely enough that new information can actually reach you. Because the brain updates through experience, but only the experiences you actually allow in. The ones you avoid never get the chance to revise anything, which means the most important perceptual act available to you is also the simplest and the most consistently difficult. Stay open, keep looking, and remember that what you see today is not the final version of what is there. It is only the version your brain was ready for.